Hey everyone, my name's Carly. I'm the Community Activation and Learning Officer for Melton City Council based at the Kurunjang Community Hub. I'm here today to show you how to make some homemade dog treats. They're super simple. They're literally just dehydrated chicken. So we used to buy these for our dog Leroy in bulk from the pet shop, but they're actually quite expensive, and they did have a few different preservatives and quite a bit of salt in them, and he does have some tummy issues. So we bought a dehydrator from Kogan. It was like $40, I think, for the dehydrator. We used to spend that in a packet of chicken once a week or once a fortnight. So we bought that dehydrator, and I buy either chicken tenderloins that are already cut up, and I just smash them out a little bit and thin them out. Or this week they didn't have tenderloins at the butcher, so I just grabbed some chicken breast, and you can just cut those up into strips, and then you can smash them out a little bit between some baking paper, or if you cut them thin enough, you can just leave them as is, and then you throw them in the dehydrator. If you don't have a dehydrator, you can also put them in the oven, so I'll show you how to do it both ways. Now, in the dehydrator, we usually let them dehydrate overnight. The dehydrator is not as sealed as the oven would be, so they do take a little bit longer in the dehydrator. So we put the dehydrator on about 65 or 70 degrees, depending on how thin the chicken strips are. In the oven, you can put it on about that 70-degree mark. It'll probably take 3 to 4 hours in the oven, as opposed to potentially overnight in the dehydrator, but it's up to you. We plug the dehydrator in another room, and we don't have to look at it till the next day. So that's the advantage of that. We can leave the house if we need to. We're not going anywhere at the moment. Lockdown 6.0 here, so we'll be home to watch them in the oven as well. So I'll do a batch in the dehydrator, and I'll also show you some in the oven as well. So we'll just get the chicken prepped and we'll smash them out. I'll show you how to do that now. Okay, so I've just put my oven on. The lowest it will go to that shows on this dial is 80 degrees Celsius in a fan forced oven. You can have a Google at a couple of different ways that people dehydrate them. If your oven goes low enough, put it at 50 or 60. It's completely up to you. You just have to keep an eye on it while it goes. It'll start drying out and it'll get a bit bendy. You want it while it's still bendy. You don't want it to completely dry out and crack. It's not great for their little mouths. If you leave it a bit bendy, it's actually good for their teeth. They can chew on it like they would a bully stick or a bone, essentially. So I'll get these pieces of chicken breast ready. We now have 2 dogs, so... Okay, so as I was saying before, I was really interrupted by the cat. We have 2 dogs now, so we also have 2 cats. So we go through these chicken tenders quite a lot. So they have 2 a day. So they have one with their breakfast in the morning after their kibble. And then after they have their kibble at night, they have one after dinner as well. So it's just an extra boost of protein for them both. The puppy only has like half a piece, but Leroy will have a full chicken tenderloin or strip of breast essentially. So normally if we get the tenderloins, which is actually that part there of the breast that I'm just going to cut off now. I would then lay all the tenderloins out, put them between 2 bits of baking paper and smash them out so they're a bit thinner. So I'm just going to cut up a bunch of the breast here now. So I'll get them all prepped and cut them up, and then I'll show you how thin we smash them out normally. Okay, so I've cut up the chicken breast into strips about that thin, so I shouldn't have to smash out some of them too much. Some of them are a little bit thicker, as you can see there, and I have done some pieces not as long because we've got the pup, so he doesn't eat. He's only like 16 weeks, so he's still quite a little puppy, so he won't have really big pieces of chicken. So some of those can probably go straight into the dehydrator. So ours just has trays like this. So you try not to overfill it. You do want some spaces between your pieces of chicken. So some of them I can definitely, like that one can definitely just go on the tray as is. Now I bought 4 kilos of chicken breast in total. So what I'll do is I'll cut up what fits in the dehydrator and on a couple of trays in the oven. The rest I will cut up into the strips and freeze it, and that way we can just take it out and put it straight into the dehydrator as we need. Okay, so to smash these out so they're a bit thinner to put in the dehydrator or the oven, whichever way you're doing it, I'll grab the thicker pieces. So there's the tenderloin bits that I've cut off the breast. If you do buy pre-cut tenderloins, this is exactly what it'll look like. So I've just put some of the thicker pieces plus a couple of the tenderloins that I cut off those breasts that I cut up completely. Just place them out on your parchment paper, baking paper, whatever you call it, and just place another bit of parchment or baking paper over the top. And then I do just smash them out a little bit, so they end up being maybe 1/2 centimetre thick. That's the aim we want. So this is going to be a little bit noisy, which will be annoying, but we'll just bang these out a little bit. You'll just be able to feel, you don't want to over thin them because then they get a bit mushy. You can also use chicken thigh. It's a bit more labour intensive prepping them only because there is a bit more fat in chicken thigh. So the dogs will probably like it even more because it'll be a bit more flavourful. But it's a bit harder to prep and it doesn't get as jerky like. It stays a bit more greasy is not really the word, but it stays a bit juicier and it doesn't dry out as much. So those are all looking pretty good. Now they do look quite big at the moment, but you've got to remember as they dehydrate, they lose a lot of the moisture content and they probably halve in size, if not more. So I'll just put them on a rack in our dehydrator and I'll prep some more and then I'll show you how we put them on the rack for the oven as well. Okay, so we've put the dehydrator on at 70 degrees for about 3 hours. So I'll come back and check the dehydrated ones that we'd actually dehydrated in the dehydrator in 3 hours, and we'll have a look at what they're looking like. I have cut them smaller than I would normally. We do have the extra dog now, so his pieces are a lot smaller than Leroy's. So we'll check on it in 3 hours. We'll go and check on the oven ones in about 1.5 hours, and we'll see how they're cooking, and we'll have a look at their texture. Okay, so this is the oven one. I had to take a couple of pieces out for the dogs tonight. Oh, there we go. It's actually been in there for about 3 hours. So I have flipped most of the pieces over now. We'll flip them and we'll dry it out probably for another 2 hours at that 80 degrees. And then we'll have a look at how they're looking, and I'll show you the difference of the ones in the dehydrator. Okay, so as you can see, these ones are a lot less cooked than the ones in the oven. So they've been in here at 70 degrees for about 3 hours. So I've just put them on for another 10 because I'm just going to let them go overnight. I will check on them before I come to bed, because if I look like they're going to potentially over dry overnight, I'll cut back the cooking time. But they are cooking at 10 degrees less than what the oven ones are. But again, the dehydrator is just a slower way of doing it. The benefit is that it's in a separate room to the rest of the house. So I've got the exhaust fan on in here, drawing out the smell because the dogs keep coming to look at the chicken. No, not ready yet, mate. So hopefully for their breakfast in the morning, they'll be ready, and we'll keep an eye on the oven ones as well. We obviously won't leave those on overnight. Okay, so they ended up being in here for probably about 4.5, 5 hours. So you can see they've dried out. Now these ones, I think because my oven, the lowest temperature it goes to is only 80, they're not as stretchy as the ones that I'll show you coming out of the dehydrator, but they're perfect for the dogs. I'll probably use those ones first, and regardless, they get 2 a day. So let's be honest, that'll be only a couple of days worth there anyway. I'll show you the ones out of the dehydrator now. Okay, so these are the chicken pieces out of the dehydrator. I'll just grab one. And as you can see, they're quite bendy. They've got a bit of give, and that's perfect. So they'll keep in an airtight sealed container for a couple of weeks. You can freeze them and then just let them thaw out when you're ready to use them if you do make them in bulk. But we make probably 1 kilo or 2 kilos at a time, and that gets us through a couple of weeks. Now with both dogs, sometimes we throw it in as an extra treat here and there. But you'll see all the layers, they've all, they've all dehydrated essentially in the same manner. So they were probably in the dehydrator in the end for about 10 or 11 hours. So yeah, the dehydrator is a slower process than the oven, but it's a bit more convenient for us. These are the treats. I've put these are the oven ones. You can see they are a little lighter in color than the dehydrator ones that we made. So we just keep them in an airtight container. This is probably about 1.5 weeks, 2 weeks worth for us. So the smaller pieces are for the pup, and then Leroy's pieces are the bigger tenderloins size ones. But again, you can cut them down to whatever size suits your dog best, and obviously the dehydrating time will be less. So that's the really easy and cheap way to make your dog some dehydrated chicken at home. The instructions will be under this video on our YouTube channel. You can have a look at all the other videos we've got on there. There's some stuff you can do during lockdown. So hopefully your dogs enjoy these as much as ours do. Thanks. Good boys. Outside, Leroy. Outside. Good boys.